What happens in America affects the world, and that's why they're a superpower. Now, with everything that's been happening between China and the West, it's all down to the decision that comes from the White House and President Trump, because the whole world is watching. The way President Trump has been dealing with the Communist Party in China since day one has been pretty good. With all the flaws that the administration in Washington have, and it's not a perfect government. President Trump is not a perfect man, obviously, but he's been pretty good and solid when it comes to China. At first, he tried to play, the good card, because previously, before he became president, he was one of the few who was always skeptical towards China. Everybody made fun of him, and when he became president, to show that he's not one of those radicals, he actually tried to cooperate with China, at least on trade. He was quite hardcore on trade, and he forced China to actually back down. So that was the first victory. And now he's forced China to show all their cards. And clearly at this point, China wants Joe Biden to win and to beat President Trump in the upcoming election, because they can't take this anymore, guys. They can't take this. We're looking at the situation. This is the Express talking about how one of the Chinese professors from Beijing is saying that whether it can get worse or not, I believe it depends on President Trump's decisions. This is very much initiated by President Trump, and of course China responded or retaliated. Really? Did Trump start all this? He didn't though, did he? What we need now is the so-called escalation control, but to do that we need both sides to communicate with each other, to coordinate with each other. Professor Huang continued that another problem is that China has become the primary target in the upcoming presidential campaign. Yeah, it's again, America did not start this clash, China did, and it was. We're not just talking about the current global crisis. We're talking about the clash on global trade, international trade, and the relationship between the U.S. and China. So don't you go around blaming America for this. America has made a lot of mistakes in the past, not this one. So another article is talking about how Trump is being warned, because apparently there will come a time that there will be a point of no return when it comes to the clash between the two countries. And again, that Professor Huang was blaming Trump, saying, well, America started this, and now China is warning, saying that there will come a time where there will be a point of no return. They're clearly showing their cards already. They're afraid because they've been too busy escalating situations in Asia and in North Africa and now in Iran, because that's their way of taking over the world. And if you let them be, when you look at the way previous administrations, we're going to talk about Joe Biden in this video. Joe Biden was part of Barack Obama's team in the White House. They've been absolutely shambolic with foreign policy, but China haven't had an easy ride over the last 4 years. So this is exactly why when you look at what's happening in the South China Sea, Beijing have started these drills with their Navy and the Air Force to show that, look at us, we can take on anybody. Oh yeah, sure, good luck with that. Yes, you might say that at times Russia and China are kind of backing each other on a number of issues, but I can assure you, if the time comes, even Russia will abandon China when it comes to the global clash. So the crisis in the South China Sea has escalated after Beijing began the drills to counter the US presence, because America is also basically expanding their presence in the region. So that's also going to be problematic, but that's self-defense from the perspective of Pentagon. That's self-defense. The drills are expected to continue until the 2nd of August, and China has warned civilian vessels not to enter the area. China and Vietnam are currently in a territorial dispute, and this is a thing. So there's a lot of problems between Vietnam and China, if you don't know, and America is just there to police the area. That's what they've always been doing for the past few decades. Whether it's right or wrong, that's a whole different situation. As I said, Americans' foreign policy and interventions historically have been quite bad. And most of the time, every intervention they made didn't really go well, long term or short term. But at this point, America's presence in the region is kind of needed, with China and with Iran in the Middle East causing chaos. If you let them be, they're going to take over every single part of that area, and then they're going to come to the West. They're not going to give up. They're not nice people. So the escalation is continuing in that part, and China, obviously, they've been showing off their soft power, but also their actual hard power with the Navy, with the Air Force. They got the backing of Iran. We're going to talk about that relationship in a minute because that's also a bit dodgy. But when you look at what's happening between America and China, this is where I say President Trump is winning. He essentially closed one of the consulates in America, and China decided to retaliate. So they ordered the US to close their consulate in Chengdu, and in a tit-for-tat response. And you started it. They're going to blame America for this, but this was a response because they have found evidence that China have been using spies on US soil. Well, what are you going to do? You can't just be friendly with a partner, a so-called partner, global partner, who's not actually playing nice anymore. They've been sabotaging a number of projects in the Middle East, in North Africa, against America, and this is not really about America in that sense. The reason I'm talking about this on this channel is because, as I said, what happens in America affects the world, and because at the end of the day, they are still the superpower, and we are still allies, and we all have to unite against China. Now, the Telegraph is talking about how on Friday China ordered the closure of the US consulate in Chengdu because of the tensions between the two countries. Now, Beijing said that the move was a necessary retaliation for Washington's earlier decisions to shut China's consulate in Houston over allegations that it was a base for spying. Just because something is an allegation doesn't mean it's not true, guys. I'm pretty sure if America has evidence that there's something dodgy going on, then they were right. Now, they've also brought down the American flag the other day, just to show that, look at us. And they made a big deal in China about this on Chinese state TV. It was like a massive ceremony. Look at it, we're bringing down America and the American flag. Until yesterday, you were begging to become best friends with America. And now you're it's just like the whole situation with the European Union. They say we need a united Europe, United States of Europe, to rival America and China. And then they send their EU ambassadors to Beijing to beg China to become best friends. These people are just absolutely mental. The article is talking about how the American flag, was taken down in southwestern China, according to the state media. And a statement from the US State Department said that the consulate suspended their operations at 10 a.m. on Monday in Chengdu. And it expressed disappointment at China's decision and said that the US would try to continue its outreach to the region through its other missions in China. I also love how America tried to play innocent and, oh, we're disappointed. I don't know why you're closing our consulate. To be fair, you did it first. So both sides are basically playing this weird poker game, which is kind of essentially open poker. And China have been very good for the past few decades. Not anymore, because they're showing all their cards. You look at this is the Telegraph reporting on the Chinese fishing fleets that are violating the North Korea sanctions. They're not even actually respecting any of the international sanctions, because these fleets of the Chinese fishing boats essentially have been around the coastline of North Korea, breaking international sanctions and risking the lives of local fishermen. This is according to a new study based on a satellite imagery, and more than 800 vessels of Chinese origin in 2019 and similar numbers in 2017 and 18 were fishing illegally in North Korea's waters. I mean, they don't even care. They absolutely don't care about anything that's actually happening internationally, and they're still part of the UN, interestingly enough. They're also the reason that is quite interesting, and it reminds us of what was happening in the 80s, 70s, well actually from 60s, 70s and 80s between the Soviet Union and America, is that they're also playing the same game. They're launching their first unmanned probe to Mars to show the world that China is here to stay. I mean, are you kidding me? When the Soviet tried to do this, they failed. You don't play with the big boys like this. That's why, yes, China is getting huge. They're getting very powerful. They're playing dodgy. But at the end of the day, they are only winning in a sense that they can't play in an open way. They've been creating all these dodgy missions in North Africa, and actually now Central Africa as well, in the Middle East and in Eastern Asia, because they know that they can't get away with it if they are publicly talking about their missions of taking over the world. So it's not the same as what America did in the past. And the New Statesman, our favorite website, is talking about how this is actually interesting, this article, because it's technically criticizing Trump. It's talking about how the difference between Joe Biden and Donald Trump when it comes to dealing with Beijing. And the article is trying to expose Trump's hypocrisy, because back in like 2016, Trump was actually trying to talk with China on trade and also just general partnership. And so they're trying to say that, well, look at him, he's flip-flopping. Not really, that's just how foreign policy works. And actually in this article themselves, they messed up a bit, because there's a bit that's talking about the consensus that includes former Vice President Joe Biden. When Barack Obama served as president, the administration stressed cooperation with China over the Pacific Ocean. But the world has changed in many ways since Obama left office. No, not really. Not in that sense, because 2016, yes, you just had Obama leaving, but they're pretending that China causing chaos across the world has only happened since 2016 when Obama left. China have been doing this for decades, so nothing has changed. China were doing all this dodgy stuff when Obama was there, and when George W. was there, and even when Clinton was there towards the end of it. And it's ridiculous to say that, it suddenly started and now we should be tough on China. You know what they're doing in Iran? They are creating this massive deal, a mega deal between Iran and China. Iran is basically the government selling Iran to China. The Chinese firms are going to come in and drill and take over a number of infrastructure projects, and the Iranian people are currently on the streets opposing this idea, because they believe that these idiots, the Islamic Republic, are essentially selling their country and their nation to the Chinese Communist Party. And it's true. That's what they're doing. Because Iran realized recently, over the last couple of years, how weak they've become. So they kind of need their strong partnership with China again. And they can't just rely on Russia. There was a time when, and it still happens, the triangle, China, Iran and Russia, always together against the West. It's always happened. But Iran and China are going to become even stronger partners, and it's only going to damage ordinary people in China and ordinary people in Iran. And nobody in the media in the West care about this. They don't talk about this because they think everything should be about drama. Everything should be about President Trump messing up somewhere. I don't care. This is why we have to talk about this on this channel. And as I said, the reason I mentioned the whole Trump stuff with China is because it's affecting us. The whole relationship will affect Britain. It will affect the international trade and the way we, as the Western allies, will have to deal with Beijing. So if you enjoy the content, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support the channel, become a member. Find the link in the description, or just go on youtube.com/myitc/join, and you'll find more content as members on MyITC. I'll see you guys in the next video.